Picard Season 3 is like yummy tasting chocolate that is surrounded by shit tasting ice cream, which is Kurtzman Trek. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot about this season that I really loved, but you can't really escape the fact that Kurtzman Trek completely drags this show down and pretty much snuffs out any chance of it being excellent. That being said, let's go over what worked and didn't work for this season and how this may affect Star Trek in the future. First off, the storyline is quite competent. It is well written and well acted, and I do enjoy the new characters that have been added. Particularly Captain Shaw was freaking awesome. He seriously was my favorite character, and I didn't even care that he came off a bit like an a-hole, because he was completely justifiable and logical in pretty much everything that he did. And you could tell that he genuinely cared about his crew and just wanted to do things by the book. Furthermore, Sidney LaForge and Jack Crusher were a great addition to the crew, as well as some of the other side characters that I'm not going to mention here were also good as well. When it comes to some of the old cast returning, the ones that really stuck out to me was Riker, Picard, and Worf. All of them absolutely killed this season, and I really liked Riker and Picard going back and forth and having some banter. It genuinely felt like they were old friends and just a continuation of their characters from the previous show. Also, Data was pretty great too. I did enjoy him a lot, even if him coming back to life was a bit of a stretch and kind of a weak story point. And the story plot of Data being a security system made absolutely no sense. This is supposed to be one of the most secured Starfleet facilities, and they choose to put an experimental android with a broken mind and consciousness in control of their security system that can be turned off by a whistle.
Not a great plan.
Please explain to me how that makes any sense. But either way, they just needed some way to bring him back, I guess. This season does set up a lot of mystery box storytelling, which honestly I feel like is a bit of a negative. I've never been a huge fan of this type of storytelling, and that might just be because it's usually used by incompetent writers that just want to create some type of fake intrigue, but not actually reveal anything interesting. That being said, there is a decent reveal once those mystery boxes are open, but I just really would have preferred a different type of storytelling, because I'm just not a huge fan of the mystery box storytelling structure. Furthermore, I really was not a huge fan of the story arc that Jack Crusher was going on, specifically with his visions, and it honestly just felt like they were trying to take the Red Angel from Star Trek Discovery Season 1 and mix it with some type of Stranger Things environment and shove it into the storyline, and it just felt super out of place for Star Trek. However, the story arc with Picard and his son Jack absolutely killed it this season, and I really enjoyed it, and I felt a lot of heart from it. If you can recall back to The Next Generation, Picard was a character that was written to always be a bit standoffish, and he wasn't particularly fond of kids. And he does explain this season that even though he found family in Starfleet, he always still had his walls, but finding out that he has a kid essentially completely eliminated any walls that he still held, and I just felt like it was a really good message, and honestly was a really good completion to Picard's story arc, from him being a bit emotionally standoffish in The Next Generation to essentially overcoming that through bonding with his child. And I did find it kind of funny that when the ship was about to be destroyed, all of the characters just wanted to go to the holodeck and have a drink. It was a bit of a forced situation for Picard and Jack to have an emotional bonding time, and kind of created a little bit of a funky situation, but either way, it worked. When it comes to Vadic, one of the main villains of the show, I do think they did a pretty good job with this character, and the plot with the changelings taking over Starfleet from the inside was pretty good and intriguing. That being said, there can be too much of a good thing, and episode 1 through 8 honestly felt like it should have been 6 episodes. Vadic just stuck around a little bit too long, and I honestly just wanted to get on to the main real threat behind Vadic, because this is teased throughout the show, but then we don't get there until the beginning of episode 9, and that is the main threat, which is the Borg Queen. Then at this point, it just kind of feels like we rushed through the conflict with the Borg Queen in 2 episodes. So you kind of end up with a a situation where the first 8 episodes feel kind of bloated and a bit stretched out, and you actually have some downtime where the pacing is a bit slow, and then the last 2 episodes feel super sped up and the conflict is just kind of rushed through. I feel like if they had kind of balanced this out a bit, where perhaps we had a full like 4 episodes with the Borg Queen and maybe like 6 episodes with Vadic and the Changelings, it kind of would have balanced out the pacing of the show a bit more, and I feel like it would have helped a lot. Also, on a side note, I've never particularly been a huge fan of the Borg Queen. I felt like it kind of brought a face and a humanity to the Borg that the Borg really never needed, and it honestly just kind of has always made the Borg feel a little bit less threatening and less terrifying when there's an actual person that you can have a moral debate with. The whole point of the Borg was that you can't negotiate or reason with them. They just exist to expand, conquer, and incorporate people and technology. And the Borg Queen kind of took away from that terrifying aspect of them a bit. But either way, that's just kind of my personal gripe. I felt like the weakest plot point of the entire season, and honestly the thing that annoyed me the most, was when Jack Crusher decided to go and face the Borg Queen on his own, because this was honestly the stupidest decision that any character made this entire season. And if he simply just chose not to go off on his own, no assimilations would have even taken place, because the only reason Starfleet was assimilated was because he went off to go face the Borg Queen and then got himself captured.
Not a great plan.
And it honestly bugs me a lot when the only thing that pushes a plot forward is when a character makes a stupid decision. But at the end of the day, they do defeat the Borg finally and once for all. And it is great seeing the Next Generation crew back on the Enterprise, and the set that they built seriously looks really good. Furthermore, there's a lot of great emotional payoffs throughout this season, and I do think that overall, it is a pretty good time.
Pretty good.
They do set up the potential for a new TV show with 7 of 9 as a captain with some of the new crew members that we picked up throughout this season, and I honestly think that they could make a pretty good show if they went forward with this same storyline. And I absolutely love the ending with the Next Generation crew simply just playing a card game together, because this was seriously a great send-off, and I can't really think of a better way to do it. And the very last thing, if you stick around for the mid-credit scenes, Q is back. And this does set up a really good potential future storyline with Q and the new crew. But let's be honest, Picard Season 3 is like a single blip on a heart monitor. You can enjoy it for what it is, but don't expect more of it. But either way, please give me your thoughts. Live long and prosper.